through opaque, almost clear. And then you have the dirty accumulator, and when it comes through, it's filled with soot, which gives it the appearance of being black. Right? So the ether of itself is like a aquatic field. Right? So now we're using water as a frame of reference, because water is the physical similitude of spirit.
What that word mean? Rob, what that word means? Similitude, what's that?
The meaning, the similarities in the two.
Okay, right, okay.
Right, so the physical representation of spirit is water. Because water permeates all things, and you can accumulate the water, but you can't keep the water trapped because it's going to always find its way back. Right. So this is taking something from a source, is showing you a metaphoric link in cycles. As the water cycles, it goes through a water phase, gas phase. When it's frozen, it's in this solid phase. Right. When it becomes steam, it's a gas. But when you refine the steam even further, it's a vapor. A vapor is the mirror to what the ether is. Right. So remember when Obi-Wan told Luke, he said, the force, Luke, is neither good nor bad, but it is the intention applied that makes it so. Right. So that means that a person with good intentions can make a mistake and something good can come out of it. Because the intention that he started with was good. The person with ill will at the beginning can try to do something good, but it's going to go to crap because his intentions wasn't good. Right? So now you manipulating the ether. You determining by what's in you how you can move the ether to the good side or the bad side, or the positive and the negative, or the malevolent or the benevolent. Right. So now this brings in the Hermetic law opposites being applicable to the ether. Right. The poles, the law opposites. That means that the ether can be either of the extremes and everything in the middle. Just like the people, our character can be either of the extremes or can fall anywhere in the middle, but the goal is to always bump straight. I mean, don't get stuck to the left. Don't get stuck to the right. Stop taking sides in other people's drama. Right. So as the ether accumulates, they told us at the Big Bang that it formed something called a pea-sized thing that they called the black dot. Right. Ironically, he didn't call it the black dot in the article, but it's a Scientific America article from the 90s that talk about it, what he's talking about. And it's showing you the model, and then it have what looked like a net coming out of the center of the Big Bang in a funnel-like shape, right? This is supposed to be the effect of the Big Bang. Right? So I say that's when they turned on the simulator. Why do I say that? Because if you turn on the light, and sometimes you could actually see the spark that jumps out of the switch. Right. Because the spark have to make a connection, meaning that the loop got to be closed in order for it to cycle. Right. So the same way that they talk about it in science, Malachi wrote about it in the Holy Tablets. He said the dot became a line. The line was infinite until it decided to shift to an angle. Right. Once it shifted to an angle, this created the square from the dot. Okay. And then the square flipped the dot out on the other side. And now the circle is flipping out of the square, and the square is flipping out of the circle. Right. At the same time, so in metaphysics, it's called flux flow between two-dimensional paradigms simultaneously. right? That means it's phasing in and phasing out, right? That's the flux flow. Remember the flux capacitor from Back to the Future was able to jump between parallels in order to it to triangulate into a position in the future.
Right. Wow.
Right. So that's called the flux flow capacitor. Right. And the flux flow, if you're looking at it in the physical, it'll look like it disappears and reappears. But it never disappeared. It just went into an alternate reality, a different frequency of expressing itself. Right. So now you have what's called the octave scale, which mirrors the music scale.
Yes.
Right. This is the building blocks of what we call creational fabric. Right. Then they talk about how the dark matter permeates everything. Right. But the dark matter is no one thing. It's everything simultaneously all at once. Right. So they telling us the nature of dark matter. It's the same as the physical expression of water. So then in Egypt, it's referred to as the primordial waters or the primordial noon, N-U-N, where the term nuns came from.
Talk to him, Ron.
The great festival of the Catholic Church that was stolen from the matriarchs is the Dark Mother is supposed to sit on the sacerdotal seat and she's supposed to wear black. And all of the nuns was supposed to be in white. Right. And then she officiates over the ceremony. And now where the women who wore the red, which represented the bloodline, has been replaced by some people they call cardinals. Now, all of these is just replacing the order that was already there with masculine gender and reassigning the roles of the nunnery. Right. So this is ancient. The nunnery is ancient, but the application of it today under the control of patriarchal homotesticles is new. Right. But it's all the primordial noon was expressed in the ritual where the women in white went to the Dark Mother, which represent Prime Creator, as the embodiment in the physical realm of those primordial noon. Right. And this is where you get your Isis seat as the sacerdotal seat. It's the great mother seat. Right. But she's subservient to Big Mama, Tawaret, who dwells in the sky, in the center of the zodiac. Right. So now you got Prime Creator, Tawaret, telling the Earth Mother, Isis, that we need the cleanup crew cleaning up. We looking at it through modernized religion, dogma, and social engineering programs used to steer how we perceive what's taking place. In the primordial ether, it's the closest thing that when the physical form, even more close than water, where I can explain it is like sound, a heavy bass sound. Right. So like when you in the club and you standing in front of the speaker and you feel that bass hitting all the way through your chest, that's the character of the ether. It's always there, pounding from the inside and the outside simultaneously. Right. It's permeating all things. I mean, everything is saturated with it. And even when you get down to the string theory, all particles is created from light.
Yes, sir.
Right. And then when you get to the Higgs boson, you realize that once the strings of light was tied up in the knots, you can generate matter, the God particle.
Wait, you said once the strings, now we're talking about these etheric streams was tied into knots, you can generate matter.
Right.
Rod, now, this. Yeah. No, I'm gonna take a note. Okay, Rod.
Yeah. So they replicated with the Hadron Collider in order to extract the Higgs boson. They have to collide two electrons together. right? When they slam into each other, all of these other particles are produced as the byproduct of that collision,
right?
Which simulates the Big Bang.
Right.
When 2012, on December, I think 26th, they discovered the Higgs boson, right? Which tells them that this is the particle responsible for what we call density of matter. But when you look at it under the microscope, it's still an electron and it still follows the laws of the string theory. Right. So the only answer is the explosion causes it to tie up into a knot. From the force and power of the explosion, it makes the light fold back in on itself, creating a piece of dense matter. Right. This is why the 3D looks like it's fixed position of reality and we can't walk through walls, because the Higgs boson governs the law that separates things. Right. So it's like a pound of feathers and the 1 pound brick drop from 30,000 feet. Which one gonna hit the ground first? The only way that the brick hit the ground first is if the feathers are not contained. If the feathers are contained, like in a pillowcase, they'll hit at the same time because the weight is the same. The only thing that the feathers being in a larger container might experience more drag, which would give us the illusion that they fell at a different rate. But if you can compact the same amount of density and weight of feathers into the same space as a brick, they gonna both hit like a brick. Right. So that's the war of the butterfly. Butterfly fighting a dragon, and you need a trillion butterflies to kill it. Right. But he probably didn't tell him how many butterflies you're gonna lose in the fight from the dragon. Right. So they used the Orgone accumulator to extract the ether and put it in a usable form, and they call it Orgone. And that is that is solidified ether. Dr. Delbert Blair talks about what's called ore energy, which is primordial base energy. When you're looking at the pyramids, Rich, most of that stuff are metaphysical calculations of creation in some part of the creation or the other. Right. And you use the same methodology to reorganize the society based on the balancing of those equations. They real simple, but they complex. It's complex because we don't know what they mean, but it's simple in the message that they trying to relay. Where does this thing keep sliding?
You good, Rod?
Yeah, my phone keeps sliding and trying to I got it. I think I got it this time. You keep sliding across this thing I got it propped up on.
Serious, please be quiet. All right, so Rod, so let me ask you this now. All right. When you mention the ether and you was comparing it to water, I thought about something you know, that they when they talk about the cosmos, and the best representation they have of the cosmos is, let me show this.
Right, that's because the sacred 369. Remember, you brought up Tesla earlier.
Yeah.
You say when you understand the power of the 3, 6, and the 9, then you understand the fabric of the universe. Right. So when you look at it, all it is different directions of curls. Right. The 3, the 6, the 9.
That's deep. Just different direction of curls. That's deep.
Right. Deep. But this is all taken from, the Afro hairstyle is a representation of the uterus. right? The energy field around the uterus represents the hair, and the uterus itself is represented by the face. It's a homage to the Great Mother.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you had tribes both over in the Americas, the old Mississippians especially, they had Afro chiefs that wore them big old afros so that they can be seen by the same way as the other tribes wore the war bonnet. When Tukey came down the street with his afro picked out, everybody knew from 4 blocks away that here come Tukey. You can't miss him. All you got to do is look for the muscles in the afro, and you know it's him and his crew. Right. So the hair itself is showing you the expressions of the 369 by the curl. 9 ether being ether to the 9th power, the 9th power of 9, which a lot of people said Malachi was insane until the scientists got a hold of the formula and applied it in a repeatable fashion. And then he wasn't so crazy. Now he has to go. So when you look at the hair follicles also mimic the brain cells. When you looked at that the fabric of the universe is showing you the same fabric of the layout of the neurons in the brain. It's the same way that the hairs is laid out in the afro. Right. And that's to facilitate a more entropy-free exchange of energy. It's the entropy that causes the decay, that causes the spiritual information to be lost in translation to the recipient of the information. Right. And by tending properly to your hair, and no matter which form you use it in, if you hold it sacred, you will be able to use it as the sympathetic link to tune in to etheric fields. And the etheric field is going to always be based on your personal vibrational frequency, which will play out in your dream state. Because where you vibrate at in the physical, and when you bring that together with the mental paradigm of who you are, it'll give you a projection to understand spiritual things in the dream state. Right? So all of those things are interconnected. Just like the ether is everywhere. It connects all things, so all things are connected.
Right. You know, and Rod, ether, one of the things that moving forward with this channel, I want to continue to stress or continue to highlight is the fact that empty space is not empty. What we call empty space, and we all see empty space in our homes, and you know, when we go outside, you know, we see plenty of empty space, and you know, it's filled with ether. I want to ask you this, Rod. Let me ask you this. Let me see, because I could go in so many directions. All right, so they say the universe is like 90-something% empty space. They say our bodies is like 90-something% quote unquote empty space. Now, our homes, you know, this is like where we live. This is like our sanctuary. This is our castle. This is where we come to escape from the, you know, the stresses of the world. I think it's a very spiritual environment for all of us. Should our homes as well, Rod, because when goes into feng shui, should our homes as well represent 90-something% empty space in order for us to tap into this etheric energy? Because sometimes we may be cluttered and we have too much shit in our homes and we can't think straight. This is why some people don't like a lot of shit in their home, because this is like a direct reflection of not only the universe, but our bodies, when it's 97% empty space and just a chair, a desk, a table, or this or that. Is this why it's supposed to be like that in the science of feng shui?
That's applicable to certain people. But you've seen people with a cluttered house with OCD, where every single thing in their house got a designated spot and it got a lot of stuff in there.
Good point. Good point.
Spiritually, what's going on with those people is they spiritually in tune and they seeing everything they have spiritually, and they building the physical representation in their environment. Right. And they're using the orderness You know, because order is the first thing after the Big Bang, because chaos came and the order had to put everything in a designated place.
Right, right.
Right. So even amidst what looked like chaos to everybody else, these people have the knack to be well organized in their chaos. Even if a lot of them be old Christian ladies. The irony of that is, if they practice chaos magic, they would be the coldest.
Wow.
They're natural chaos magicians, taking chaos and creating order out of chaos. They problem solvers too.
Wow. That's deep. So let me ask you this. Earlier, you talked about you used the word intentions.
What they're talking about is reducing the length of the telomeres on the chromosomes. They have a new drug out now called telomeres, and it actually is designed to extend the telomere caps that causes a lot of what they call congenital illnesses, or stuff that you get from age, to decrease, like high blood pressure, diabetes, and it start giving the signs of reversing aging. It makes your skin better. So when they talk about them capping our DNA, they actually uncap most of the chromosome, where the telomeres only cover the tips of the chromosome. This is what they call in the Bible that that the spirit should always dwell with man, for his days should be 120 years. That's based off the median time frame of a person living a healthy lifestyle to reach 120 with minimal complications. But with all of the poisons added to the atmosphere, to the food, to the water, all of those things are reducing the lifespan of humans.
Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't know about that medication that they had put out. I gotta look into that, because that sounds very interesting, for real. But I agree with you on the telomere caps, and that was Genesis 6:3 that you was referring to, when my seed shall abide in man for 120 years. Yeah, they definitely got that inside the Bible in Genesis 6:3. So my next question to you would be, well, what did the Anunnaki think of the humanoid that was on Earth when they arrived?
They thought of us as primitive and savage, according to the text, because when they say they took one of the hominids that existed, they say they captured one of the savage hominids that was roaming the earth already. So the